Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a video all about my skincare and how it's kind of cleared up throughout the years and what my experience has been with my skincare journey / my experience on Accutane. If you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, you probably remember I took Accutane a couple years ago, but I never really made a video kind of talking about my experience or my results from it. So that is going to be today's video, and I don't want to make this intro super long because I know the video will be long, so let's just go ahead and get into it. So the first thing I kind of want to go over is that this isn't a completed kind of skincare journey. Every day is something new with my skin. It's not really like a good start to finish. It's a very like up and down road, if that makes sense. So currently I'm going through like a good period with my skin, but if in a couple weeks I start making videos and you see I'm breaking out a lot, that doesn't mean that everything I've said in this video isn't true. It's just that my skin is very inconsistent, if that makes sense. So I wrote kind of like a timeline down on my phone so that I wouldn't forget anything, and I started it in middle school. I don't remember really breaking out in middle school. I know that's kind of when puberty starts for younger girls, and that's when your skin can really start to freak out, but I just personally don't remember breaking out. Maybe like a couple spots here and there, obviously, which would be natural and like that's something that your body goes through, but I don't remember it ever being excessive or to the point where it was more than my friends were breaking out or anything like that. Like I said, middle school was pretty normal. I don't really remember anything, so I assume it wasn't bad. Freshman year, my skin started to get a little bit worse, but it wasn't anything significant. Again, your body's going through puberty, you're going through changes. It's normal to have hormonal acne. But my sophomore year of high school was when my skin started to get really bad. It was super textured was my thing. It wasn't even like full whiteheads. It was just like the top of my forehead especially. I remember I just had so many like pimples under the surface of my forehead, so my forehead was just very bumpy. So my sophomore year of high school, I was 16, like around there. So obviously that's just like a really self-conscious time to be a girl to begin with, and my acne was so bad. I remember I'd have trouble like making eye contact with people. Like I just wouldn't want to talk to anybody because I was worried that they were staring at my acne and not me. And if you have acne, you know what I'm talking about. Like you can see when people look away from your eyes and start looking at your face and like looking at the acne on your face, and it's literally the worst feeling in the world. I remember I was just so self-conscious and it was horrible. So my sophomore year, I remember I started going to the dermatologist a little bit more often, and I tried so many medications and creams. Most dermatologists, if you go, they'll give you like a topical cream, kind of like a really strong acne treatment before they'll put you on any like oral medicine. But I am actually allergic to topical creams in general, which is really unfortunate. It made like finding a skincare routine that worked for me very, very difficult because things that I put on my face I would have a reaction to. So it was very hard to tell if it was like clearing my acne or I was getting like bumps because I was allergic to whatever they were giving me, if that makes sense. So eventually I just stopped using the creams because they were breaking me out more than they were helping me, and I switched to oral medication. If you have acne, you probably know like the top ones that are kind of handed out. They're all in the cycline family. It's like monocycline, doxycycline, and another one, and they're a common antibiotic that's given with, I think it's sinus infections. You can get them sometimes prescribed, and the reason that it works, from the way that it was explained to me, I'm not a doctor, is that it kind of kills the bacteria in your body, so you're not producing it as much. So it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Like if it's killing bacteria, there's not as much like in your body, you won't break out as much. And that did work for me, but I ended up developing an allergic reaction to whichever one I was on. I don't know why, I just did. Another common medication for acne is birth control because it balances out your hormones. It's really common to give it to younger girls. And I did do that for a couple months, but I really react poorly to hormones, so I ended up having to go off it just because it really, really messed up like my mental state. So I was off of that, and I was finally allowed to go on Accutane. If you're not familiar with Accutane, Accutane is this really, really intense medicine that basically goes into your system and shuts out all of your oil glands in your face, and kind of all over your body as well actually, but it kind of sticks around your face so that you can't break out physically, because there's no more oil left in your skin to break out. And it has a ton of really bad side effects. It's really hard to get a prescription as a young girl because the side effects are so harsh. If you're sexually active, you need to be on 2 forms of birth control. Luckily, when I took it, I wasn't sexually active, so I could just put like abstinent, and they were fine with that because I was like 15 at the time. But it's really bad if you get pregnant on it. You can look up a ton of stuff online. Basically, you normally do 1 or 2 rounds of 6 months. I did 1, and it was pretty bearable. I didn't really have any super bad side effects. Obviously, my lips got really dry. I remember I'd wake up and have not nosebleeds, but I'd wake up and there'd be like kind of like crusty blood in my nose. That's really gross, but that's like what I experienced. And also my back hurt really bad throughout the 6 months, and it's because the oil glands in your back, you have like discs between your spine and there's oil in those, and Accutane actually dries up that oil too, so they kind of start rubbing together. So they recommended that I drink Gatorade. I don't know why it helped, but it did. So if you're taking Accutane, definitely drink Gatorade. I started drinking Gatorade like every day, and it really helped. I know it's not the best for you, but like, pick your battles. Also, if you're a female taking Accutane, you have to get monthly blood tests and monthly pregnancy tests just to make sure your levels are good, and again, that you're not pregnant, obviously. And then when you finish your 6 months, typically they'll kind of reevaluate and see if you need another 6 months, but my dermatologist didn't think that I did, and it was pretty much fine. I kind of went on my merrily way. By the time I finished Accutane, I was at the end of my sophomore year, and my skin was significantly better. All of the texture like on my forehead had cleared up completely. My skin was very clear, and I was so happy. I felt so much more confident. I wouldn't wear makeup. I could make eye contact. I was more social. It was just a really positive change for me. And my skin was pretty clear throughout high school from then on. Obviously, I still had breakouts, but it wasn't to the same degree. And I do think that like it's normal to still have breakouts. I know that Accutane is kind of seen as like this end-all result, but obviously you're still gonna break out a little bit, not nearly as bad as before, but like in high school you have hormone changes still, just the stress of like applying to college, and just like high school life was very stressful. Obviously my diet wasn't great in high school. I feel like most people's aren't. So I broke out like occasionally, but it was never bad. It would just be like a spot here and there. Pretty good, pretty content throughout high school. So the summer before I went into college, I went back on birth control, partially because my skin was starting to break out a little bit more consistently. It wasn't excessive, but it was just something that I started to notice again. And I wanted to be on birth control in college. It was just a personal decision. And so that helped my skin a little bit. So throughout freshman year, my skin was pretty mediocre. Like there wasn't anything like excessive. It was fine. It was average, you know, like not great, but still fine. And then my sophomore year of college, which was this past year, my skin went off the radar, like horrible. I have never broken out like this in my life, even before Accutane. Like I do not know what the fuck was up with my skin. Unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of my before and afters with Accutane because I was so self-conscious. I would literally sit and edit every single photo that anybody would take of me before like saving it. So I really don't have any photos that aren't edited of me, which is really sad, but like that's just like my sophomore year mindset. But I do have pictures from this, like these were taken in May, late April, early May. So you can see here, my skin was horrible. It was all down here, like I said. It was like across my forehead, just like everywhere. And I could not figure out what it was. And like, as you can see now, like my skin is completely cleared up from like what that was. I'll insert pictures that I took like a week ago of my skin, and you can see it's just so much more clear. There's really no active breakouts. Like I'd say at all times I have 1 pimple on my face, which like I can deal with. That's not a big deal. I've had acne pretty much like for the last 8 years of my life, like I've said. So like it's not, I'm used to always having like 1 pimple. That's not the issue. But as you could see from those other photos, it was just so much. And honestly, I don't know what I did differently. So as you can see, my skin is so much better now. I'm not wearing a ton of makeup. Like I just have a pretty light foundation on, and then bronzer and highlighter. And that's the only like face makeup I have on today. And I have 1 pimple on my chin right here, but that's the only active pimple I have. The rest is just kind of scarring and stuff like that. So I'm really happy with where my skin is now. But I'm not 100% sure of what I've changed between that picture in April and now. I have like a list of some ideas that I have, but I'm not like 100% definitive on anything. So some things that I know definitely have improved my skin is cutting out dairy. Everybody says this and I thought it was bullshit, but it's not. I've cut out pretty much milk, butter, and cheese. I've definitely cut out milk and butter for the most part of my diet. Like I'll have a scoop of butter every once in a while, but I never have milk in like my lattes anymore or anything like that. Like I always get almond milk, and that's actually made a huge difference. Again, I thought it was bullshit, but it's not. So the second thing I know works is drinking a lot of water. I used to hate when people said this to me because I'd be like, bitch, if drinking water would solve all of my self-confidence issues here, I would just drink water. But it does help, so just make sure you're doing it. It's not going to change everything. I know it's not from experience, but it definitely helps kind of flush out the toxins, which kind of goes back to your skin, if that makes sense. Another thing I've done is really cut back on my skincare routine. I did a video showing my skincare a couple months ago, I think. I'll try to link that down below. It's pretty much all accurate. The only things I do is wash my face or take off my makeup with micellar water, and then I spray like a witch hazel spray from Skindinavia on my skin, and that's it. Sometimes I'll use aloe if I'm breaking out because that really helps replenish my skin. I don't use moisturizer anymore. I think the Clinique one might break me out. I really can't tell. That's the issue. So I'm like too scared to risk it, you know what I mean? And I found that less is more. My skin kind of regulates itself. So I'd recommend, if you're putting a ton of product on your skin, try taking things out. I don't know, like that might not work for everyone, but I think it works for me. Again, like I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing differently here. If you're not doing this already, make sure you're washing your pillowcases often because your face is like hitting it. And if there's even like leftover moisturizer or product, anything like that, and it gets on the pillowcase, it'll just kind of like harvest, if you will. So that can be causing you to break out. And I always sleep with my hair like off to the side. I don't like wearing my hair up, but I make sure that it's at least out of my face because obviously the oils from your hair, if you have product in your hair, like anything can break out your skin. If you have like sensitive or acne prone skin, you know this. So just make sure you're doing those things as well if you aren't already. And I think that that's everything. I know that this video wasn't super concise or maybe the best advice, but like I said earlier in the video, my skin is just always changing and every day is kind of like a new day for me. Like I kind of wake up every day and I'm like, what are we working with today? So I think that this is what's worked best for me, and I don't know, I hope it can help at least one of you. If you're dealing with acne, just try not to let it get to your self-esteem. It's not as big of a deal as you think it is. I know that's so much easier said than done. Drink your water and just keep your head up. Hopefully it'll get better. Hopefully it'll clear up. I wish you nothing but clear skin days. And with that, I think that is everything. I will have my social medias linked down below. I've been posting a ton on Instagram and Twitter lately if you want to check that out. That'd mean a lot to me, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.